If you're looking for a new pet deck that you can absolutely worship, I recommend looking no further than Hei Bai Forest Guardian, which is a shrine tribal deck that is absolutely broken. And let me get right into it. Hei Bai reads, whenever Hei Bai enters, reveal the top of your library until you reveal a shrine card. You may put that card onto the battlefield. So for 4, you actually net a pretty good amount. And then you can pay 1 of each color, tap. For each legendary enchantment you control, create a 1/1 spirit creature token with this creature can't block or be blocked by non-spirit creatures. So that's pretty. Today we're going to do a shrine tribal deck that is also focused on ramping that second ability and untapping Hei Bai for a double use. And this is pretty good because a lot of the shrine cards are very good as is. So let's start off with our shrines, starting with number 1, South Air Temple. Now there's a lot of temples in this deck obviously, but Southern Air Temple enters, put X 1/1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of shrines you control. And whenever another shrine you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So this is going to be absolutely insane. You can blink it out, you can bounce it back to your hand, you have all 5 colors, you can reoccur it if you'd like. So this is going to be absolutely devastating. And then you have Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, which is going to ramp you mana for each shrine you control, obviously. The more shrines, the better, and this deck is really good at getting them out. Unfortunately, it is only 1 color, so that is the only drawback for having that card. Then you have Go-shintai of Ancient Wars, which has first strike, and at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1, and if you do, Go-shintai of Ancient Wars deals X damage to X players or planeswalkers, where X is the number of shrines that you control. So this is really good because you're going to be ramping shrines and you're going to be doing damage equally. And then you have Sanctum of Tranquil Lights, which its ability costs 1 less to activate for each shrine you control, but then it's white, tap target creature. So you're going to be tapping and taking control of a lot of different creatures in this deck, which is really, really awesome. And then last but not least, we have Sanctum of All. Beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library and or graveyard for a shrine card and put it into the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If an ability of another shrine you control triggers while you control 6 or more shrines, that ability triggers an additional time. Now that is an awesome card for shrines as well. I recommend having all the 5 color shrines in here. They're really good, but one of them is actually pretty expensive, so I'd recommend holding off on that one. Now let's get into the legendary enchantments. I know that all the shrines are also legendary enchantments, so we're going to count those obviously, but we're going to get into the other stuff. We're going to get into like the backgrounds and all kinds of other things, starting with Guild Artisan. Now Guild Artisan has commanders, creatures you own have whenever this creature attacks a player. If no opponent has more life than that player, create 2 treasure tokens. Now this is going to be really good for ramping his second ability. So that's why it's in here. It's here for ramp. Attacking with him is not a big deal, especially if you're ramping out. He's pretty big, so I think it's fine. Then we have Dawnheart Martyr, which so cool. Love this card. Flying, lifelink, and protection for vampires. It's equal to the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. So that's going to be really good for the end of this. And both are, you're running spirits and enchantments throughout this whole deck. And I really recommend just like focusing in on both because both are really cool. You can run changelings, but forget changelings. Spirits, shrines, they go together like bread and butter. Then you have Day of Destiny, which gives all creatures +2/+2. It's awesome. And then you have Master Chef. Now Master Chef is pretty interesting because commanders you control have enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter, and then other creatures you control enter with an additional +1/+1 counter too. So that means that all your spirits that are coming into the battlefield are going to drop with an additional counter. So that is freaking awesome, especially with this deck. You're going to go wide, so why not go tall and wide? That's really good, especially since this is also a legendary enchantment, which is going to trigger Hei Bai again. This is an awesome deck. And then you have Strayer Enchanter, and then whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card. So then you're just, honestly, with that one, I just wanted to recycle. I wanted to show you how to refill your hand as you're casting your spells. So this is a really good recycle card. Now it's time for the extra tech, and the extra tech is going to be really good with this deck because there's a ton of different things that you can do with these cards. And I just showed you how to win without the extra tech. Starting off with Jukai Naturalist, which is lifelink and enchantment spells cost 1 last to cast. So now we're ramping up our drops and we're ramping up our shrines. Then we have Zur. I know some of you are older. I've seen the analytics. I know you've ran into Zur, you know what he does, but for those who don't, flying, and whenever Zur the enchanter attacks, You may search your library for an enchantment with mana value 3 or less, put it onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle. This is broken for this deck, and this is broken for a commander deck in general, because he's a tutor. Whenever he attacks, he tutors for a 3 or less card. Now that's, you may say, oh my gosh, oh what the heck, that's not so bad. Yeah, until you realize that most of these fucking cards are 3 or less. Literally, almost every single one of these that I'm looking at right at the moment. Most of the backgrounds, most of the freaking shrines, they're 3 or less. It's crazy. And shrines are legendary enchantments as well, so absolutely broken. And then we have Shrine Steward. Now, Shrine Steward is actually pretty good for shrines alone, so I just recommend if you're going to run shrines, you might as well have Shrine Steward. Whenever she enters the battlefield, search your library for an aura or shrine, reveal it, and then put it into your hand. So that's pretty good. Pretty good construct, just a tutor really. I like it. And then you have Hei Bai, which has vigilance, and whenever this creature gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control. So this is a 5-color deck, so as soon as you have your commander out, you're gonna have all 5 colors. And then for each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of any color. So this is ramp, so that's really awesome. If you have your commander and you have Hei Bai, you're going to tap him and he's going to pay for his second ability. So that's really great. Last but not least on my extra tech, we have Doomwake Giant. Now Doomwake Giant is devastating. I'm not going to lie. I've been hit with a Doomwake Giant before and it does not feel good. It's Constellation, and whenever Doomwake Giant or another enchantment enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Now let me tell you something, guys. This is not targeting stuff. This is not indestructible. This will destroy your indestructible. This gets rid of all your stuff, and there's almost no way to save it. You have to blink it, and then whenever it's back on the battlefield, it still has that Constellation. You have to kill this card when it's on the battlefield. It's 26 cents. I really recommend this card for this deck. If you're going to make your opponents cry, this is the way to do it. Now, let's hop into the bonus cards. There's actually a lot of really good stuff in this deck that I think that is honestly super fun. There's a lot of different ways to build shrines, and it makes them super cheap for that. So I think that the more you explore with this type of deck, the more you're going to have fun. And my first bonus is Genju of the Realm. Now, I like all the Genju cards. I think they're super sick. I like using Genju for different things though. But whenever Enchanted Land becomes an 8/12 spirit creature with trample until end of turn, it's still a land. And then whenever Enchanted Land is put into the graveyard, you may return Genju of the Realm from your graveyard to your hand. So that's going to give you a lot of Constellation drops. This is going to reoccur, and a lot of stuff like Genjus are going to give you a lot of different drops. So I really recommend this card. It's super cool. I think it looks sick, so why not, you know? And then we have Enduring Vitality. Now, Enduring Vitality is really good from Duskmourn. I really like the Glimmers. I think they're pretty good for this deck. But creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. It's got Vigilance, and whenever it dies, you can return to the battlefield under the owner's control as an enchantment, which is pretty good. You get a Constellation drop with it twice. And then last, for not least for this deck, we have Bloom Tender. Now, Bloom Tender is really good for ramping, getting out all of the different stuff for this deck and everything else. Now, one more thing I want to mention is there are cards that let you control your creature and untap it. I mention these a lot in the Krinko builds. So if you want another build that's kind of like this and gets you more stuff out of untapping, I recommend checking out my Krinko build. But a lot of things like Traitorous Blood and stuff like that is also really good for this deck. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed the deck build, and I hope I can see you again in the next one. This is how many people are subscribed. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'm really trying to hit 1,000. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.